What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stochastic coming to you with your PGA DFS first look, per usual, on this lovely Tuesday. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. Goes a long way for me on this video, goes a long way for you. That way you become apprised whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. God, I have big hands. It's so weird. It's bigger than my face. Now I'm paranoid. Good thing it's the small screen. I don't have to worry about it. That's great, but also is great. Rainmakers PGA Tour. This is the great stuff. The sponsor of our lovely program. You can get a free pack in the video description box below. Hey, do you know what it is? Well, let's break it down here for you. It is PGA DFS, the stuff that you're tuning in for here, combined with NFTs. You're going to get player cards. You're going to get 8 of them completely free just by walking down there to the video description box below. Claim Rahm or Scotty Scheffler. It would be insane to do anything other than one of those two. That's bared out in our free projections. Yes, free projections, top player probabilities. Scotty Scheffler and Jon Rahm, way above the pack. They are in DFS. They are in DFS pricing as well for this week's tournament. But get your free pack. You can also get a UFC pack for this weekend when you delve in. If it's your very first time to jump in for the Fight Night packs. Now, I think they just sold out. So unfortunately, probably not going to be this week. But next week, there's a huge UFC card. And I know Greg and I, UFC 289, I believe, we're going to be doing the live Rainmaker show for UFC for the first time in a hot second. Normally, we're doing PGA DFS. That's what we did this morning. Talk through some of my favorite cards to be targeting in that market. You can go back and watch that lovely video. Good stuff there. I'll talk through some of my favorite targets for PGA DFS. And if there's a couple of cards, Aaron Rye, that are super, super cheap, sub $2, then you can go get in the core contest for Rainmakers. That would be great as well, mainly because, well, you get yourself up here to Rainmakers. And if you go to like the My Contest section or the lobby section, either one of these lovely things, you get PGA Tour, you get this lovely group of contests. And for Muirfield Village this weekend, the Memorial, pretty decent spot to be targeting and getting yourself some exposure to some of these contests. I mean, we're talking 5K single entry, 1.5K to first. I'm going to have my breakdown tomorrow morning, like I always do, talking through my favorite Rainmaker targets for that. Going to go through some rare contests too, because I've got a decent lineup here for this week for the rare contests. As you're going up to Elite, I know there are a number of players that have been crushing this. This is kind of the staple. This and the legendary, other people who do this week in, week out. And, well, they've been smashing if you had Scotty Scheffler in your life. That's for sure. So check out everything we have going over at Stochastic with the projections for it. But check out Rainmakers. Get that free pack and get yourself some exposure to some awesome stuff. So thank you to DraftKings Rainmakers. Really enjoy working with them. Really enjoy their product, not just for PGA, but in the UFC streets as well. I frequent those. They are fun. But let's talk a little bit about this week's tournament, of course, and what I do on this program. If it's your first time tuning in, I go through the top golfers tool. That is going to be this. I'm going to X out of these Rainmakers things for the time being, but the top golfers tool, this is kind of our calling card here at Stochastic when it comes to PGA DFS. It gives you a great breakdown of what we've got going in terms of optimal percentage, positive leverage, talk about why those matter every single week, and then some of the ownership that goes along with it, the corresponding ownership and projections that we have going. Again, median projections for things. You can be checking those out on the daily, copy and pasting those directly into Fantasy Cruncher. I've been doing a lot of Fantasy Cruncher here of late, or of the last couple weeks. Actually, the last week I did not. Part of that is we have the lineup generator going here at Stochastic. If you don't want to think about anything going in the PGA DFS streets and you simply want to go to draft all lineups, you can get to contrarian, balanced, chalky lineups. Again, small field PGA DFS is what I've been kind of, that's kind of been my avenue here the last month or two. I've been getting away from some of the larger field tournaments, getting to some of the smaller fields, trying to just grind out some profits because, again, streets can be tough from time to time, that's for sure. Take my shots in some of the majors with the large fields, but going to contrarian lineups, you can go by optimal percentage, projection, boom, bust. You can hit skip. We have NBA DFS lineup generator, PGA lineup generator. Every lineup generator here that we have going is available there. Fantasy football starts. That's going to be wild. Still a couple of months away from that one, but we go to contrarian lineups. We can skip in terms of top 6 projection leverage here. I want you to see what these look like. You simply are going to get an amazing view of all of your lineups. You can save up to 20 of those for your 20 max contests. And you can literally utilize those instantly. Export to CSV. You could get more lineups. You could crunch them differently here. This seems like a pretty decent amount of exposure. I like to be a little bit flatter than most. Some top players take some extreme stances. Some bad players take extreme stances too in the DFS streets. You can check those out in Lineup Rewind, going over to Fantasy Cruncher and just break down what some of the top players are doing, what other people tend to be doing. And when it comes to Rahm, when it comes to Scheffler, they're generally strong stances that have been had in of late. That's for sure. John Rahm, I had a pretty strong stance at the PGA. That didn't work out. You needed Scotty Scheffler. Last week was pretty high on Scotty Scheffler for PGA DFS purposes, even if trying to get away from it in Rainmakers. That didn't go well. That's for sure, because all Scotty Scheffler does is smash. But you can literally export these lineups and you're all set. Sign up for that below. If that's your PGA DFS process, that is fantastic. Nothing better than having the best tools in the industry at your disposals. Check out Lineup Generator. And again, I always go to Fantasy Cruncher and talk through different things here on this program, but I like to round out the program with building out my single entry lineup. That's for sure. I think we'll be doing that again here this week, looking over at DraftKings.com. But let's get ourselves to the Top Golfers tool, because this is where we're going to spend almost all of our time here. I think Fantasy Cruncher, I've taught the people a lot of things. I've been exporting a lot of data, jumping from the CSV, putting it directly onto Fantasy Cruncher. If you have questions about how to utilize anything there or how to upload your own data with the tables right here into Fantasy Cruncher, I like to do that for positive leverage so I can see it directly on the screen as I'm working on things, adding some columns there. You can hit me up on Twitter at Eric Lindquist. Go into our premium Discord, tag me at Eric Lindquist. Would be happy to help you out. I like to teach people the things that are fun about DFS, and well, building out your lineups should not feel strenuous. And so going to the PGA DFS lineup builder, phenomenal way to do that. You can sign up below, does the work for you. Stochastic projections, doing everything you could. And then for this, you can kind of have a little bit more manual, labor intensive type building model there, going to the Fantasy Cruncher and piecing it together. But to the Top Golfers tool we go, which just got updated 13 minutes ago. Look at that. It's beautiful stuff. I'm going to refresh it one more time, just make sure that we got the most recent stuff. 17 minutes ago. Let's party. And Muirfield Village, let's talk a little bit about this place. Jack Nicklaus's golf course there in lovely, lovely Ohio. I don't think there's any question that course history, it tends to have a pretty noticeable impact on this golf tournament more than it does other ones. And I don't really talk about a lot of course history on this program because I think recent form needs to be factored in more. I like to also take into effect ownership, because that's what we're playing. We're playing an ownership game. We're playing, how do the salaries construct your lineups? How do people pair certain players together? How can we avoid a lot of the duplication? And it's not necessarily always what I think is going to happen, but it's the confidence other people have that I think can be false confidence that we want to take advantage of when it comes to PGA DFS. Sounds like I'm talking about MLB DFS at the same time, even though this mother effer, Scotty Scheffler, just continues to go completely batshit crazy every single week. And it doesn't matter what your name is. Look at this madness. Let's go to the box score, shall we? Because I feel like just dying when it comes to how good he is at golf. What is this? This is Tiger shit. Like, this is just, I mean, oh, he only has 2 wins this year, Eric. Yeah, he hasn't finished worse than T12 in any tournament all season long since the CJ Cup, of course, which I mean, he just showed up, took a check, and left. Scotty Scheffler. Let's listen to the background music. Box score watch. He's playing stupid golf. This is stupid, dumb golf. And the only way that this burns you is, well, what does John Rahm do here? Who, again, other than that, stupid golf. Stupid good golf. Stupid good golf. Come on, man. What are we doing here? John Rahm is just silly good. Whatever. Look at this. This is going to be fun, isn't it? Oh boy, your most negatively leveraged field golfers in the field. 1-2 are Scotty Scheffler and Jon Rahm. You're damn right I'm going to be fading them at these kind of ownership levels right now. Maybe this comes down as a little bit more muted. Maybe people start going towards tee time stacks. Maybe a lot of things. All I know is that currently we have Scotty Scheffler at 41% ownership and Jon Rahm at 35.4% ownership. Now, they have the highest optimal percentages, and that shouldn't surprise anybody. More times than not, you're going to be running into a situation where Rahm and Scheffler, one of the two, are playing well in this event. But if they don't win this event, there are so many salary salary construction. Okay, so lineup construction is what we're getting at, but constrictions to your lineup that you have by playing two players that are 11-3 and 11K. And this is where it gets really fun because Rory McIlroy looked fine. Got back to just doing Rory McIlroy things at the PGA. I don't know what's going on with him entirely, but Michael Block, just throwing this out there, buddy. Don't think you would have been as good as Rory McIlroy just because you had distance. Just throwing it out there a little bit. Maybe you keep that to yourself, even though I know you're riding a high and golf is a game predicated on confidence. Dr. Bob Rotella talks about such things, but I look at everything going on with Rory McIlroy. I think it was a little bit overblown going into the PGA. We ended up playing quite a bit of him. I ended up playing quite a bit of him, but I'm saying we as in I talked about him on this video. Hopefully you were able to get on board 7th there, even though Scotty Scheffler was still the guy you needed because F me, right? But we have Rory McIlroy gained 7.3 with the approach, 1.6 with the putter, 2.3 off the tee. Yay, PGAtour.com. Love those things. So yeah, Rory McIlroy, he's a piece that I'm going to be prioritizing over those two because of what can show up. And because even though he's got negative leverage, it's not nearly as bad as this, but this is my priority. This dude at Muirfield Village, I don't really want to just say course history is the say-all end all of this golf course because it's not. It's definitely not. And overall, I'm not a course history guy in the same way other people are. I think I like looking at grass type that you might succeed on. And then there's guys like Sam Burns, who's actually my dude. And it's pretty clear that he has strong course correlation to Valspar, to Colonial, to these tracks that you don't have to shoot 25 under par, but you have to hit your irons really, really well and generally have decent around the green game. And Sam Burns, my God, the around the green game, we'll get to that from last week. But Patrick Cantley at this golf course, I'm setting this all up for here we go. The Memorial, 3rd, 1st, 32nd, 1st, 4th, 35th. Those are his 6 times playing the Memorial. We are talking 4 of the last 5 years, 4th or better. WTF, wowzer. That's as good as it gets. And it's kind of weird because Patrick Cantley, I would expect him to go out and, win a Masters at some point in time. Well, 14th, 39th missed cut, 17th, 9th missed cut, 47th. Weird to see Muirfield Village in Augusta because, again, Muirfield Village was created with the idea of Augusta in mind. It's Jack Nicklaus's golf course. A lot of the holes are modeled left to right. You got hills, you got length, you got some tough approach shots. You get long rough by the greens, even though I think the rough is probably more difficult at Muirfield than what it is going to be playing over at Old Augusta or has played over at Old Augusta. Tiger Woods, strong correlation to both golf courses. And Patrick Cantley, whatever it is about Muirfield, he loves it. And so at 10-5, that's the golfer that if you're going to get 41 and 35.4% going towards Scotty Scheffler and Jon Rahm, I will fade them both and I will go straight to Patrick Cantley. He's going to be my single entry lineup. I like him and Rory in that mid-range. And Xander, I feel like I just kind of X him out. See what I did there? X gonna give it to you. He'll probably give it to me now that I said that about him, but I don't know what to make about some of his form. He has 8 top 10s here and a 2nd and a 4th here of late, but still seems like a player I don't get a lot of, mainly because I like, you kind of need him to go out and win the golf tournament. Xander just doesn't win as many times as you might expect on the PGA Tour for a player of his caliber. He has a gold medal. Effed me over in that DFS contest too. But Xander Schauffele always ends up more popular. He's been less popular amongst the DFS contingent of late. So there's that, especially as data becomes more of the forefront of how people create their lineups. people have gotten away from just jamming 30% Xander Schauffele at every major and every whatever, even though last summer went on a nice little heater, and you never walk away from the table when you're on a heater. And Xander, I don't know what I'm going to do with him. He's kind of the question mark. But as it stands right now, bearing out our ownership, lower on Scheffler or lower on Rahm, because this is just so much damn negative leverage. Less on Rory. Cantley, I'm happy to embrace it. I think he's just a phenomenal play. And, well, if you're going to take him straight up at a golf course over Scheffler and Rahm, this has to be the golf course you pick based on course history. There just has to be. There's not even a close second. You pick him at Muirfield Village or, I don't know, at Sherwood Country Club. Real ones know that one. Go shoot a million under again, Patrick Cantley. It's all right. I've never shot over par there either. I've only played it twice. But we continue on our merry way. So we went to the 10K range, and recently what's happened is we've seen the 9K range very popular, because what happens is people click on Scheffler or Rahm. They click on a lot of pieces of the 9K range, and this week, looks like Tyrrell Hatton has been our de facto jam central 9K player. Okay, that's fine by me. I like what we've seen out of Mr. Tyrrell Hatton here overall, but when you look at 9,300 for him here, 64 in terms of projection here, Jason Day is right up there. And I talked about Jason Day on my betting video today because, well, I'm going to bet him to miss the cut because I think there's actually value at plus 280 there at FanDuel Sportsbook. But when it comes to DFS, 9,400, getting almost half the ownership here of Tyrrell Hatton. And he's from Ohio, just chilling there. Even though he burned me a couple years ago when his wife was pregnant, he ends up having a baby, withdraws from the tournament, and I played him at like 3%. A lot of him at 3% and got a 0. Oh, yeah. Jason Day, you owe me here at this golf course is what it comes down to. But he's had really good form this season. And I do expect Victor Hovland. I expect this ownership to come up a little bit, I would think. I think it's pretty tough to envision a lot of scenarios where people are clicking on Scheffler and Rahm. I think it's going to be easier for people to go Cantley, Hovland. That's my personal preference as well, just based on what we've seen. Victor Hovland, we know the around the green game can be very weak, and well, you still need to be able to chip it and salvage some pars here, but he's such a good ball striker that you can just avoid that problem by hitting 14, 15 greens in regulation and moving on with your life. So he's going to be in some of those ball striker heavy type builds. I'm going to be looking at some tee time stacks as well for this week. Obviously, the weather report is just, I like to get into it a little bit more on Wednesday. So if you want me to break that down on a Tuesday for you, a little bit more difficult. I try not to solidify my takes in those regards. Want to be a little bit malleable. Yeah. And sometimes you can screw things up and you just want to be, I don't know, on the other side of the draw of what everybody's doing because you'll get lower ownership. But I don't know. I don't think the weather's going to be a huge deal here. Maybe it is, and I'm just blowing it out of proportion, but I try not to get into that too much. But the highlighted player here has to be Colin Morikawa. What in the absolute world, buddy? 9,900, and we've seen this story before, right? Colin Morikawa comes into event undervalued. Colin Morikawa wins PGA Championship. Colin Morikawa loses putting form. Then all of a sudden it's playing super easy and he shoots a million under and wins an Open Championship. Like, Colin Morikawa is pretty underrepresented at 7.5. Plus, I like what we saw out of that saw grip at the PGA Championship. Call it the claw, call it the saw grip, whatever it is. From a true golf perspective, the Southern Californian kid from La Cañada grew up 2 blocks away from my wife, which is kind of wild. I mean, they're many years apart in age, but not many. Made it sound like I'm married to a 50-year-old. I'm not, even though I'm 50. I'm not. I'm 35. I'm playing with your emotions now. But I'm definitely feeling some Colin Morikawa at this kind of ownership. 7.5%. That is just egregiously low. And actual positive leverage doesn't really look good in the optimal percentage. And he's got to beat a lot of people. But we're talking large field tournaments. I'm happy to embrace that with him. And with Justin Thomas, who's on the betting card, 9,200. It's disgusting, but in the 9K range, it's been the putter for 2 years for Justin Thomas. We're very aware of it. And the PGA Championship across the board was just bad. For a guy who had won the PGA in 2022, 2023 was not memorable. But this golf course, I just think it sets up nicely for him. And you got to make some putts. It's going to be tough for everybody, but that's the thing, is that it can be a little bit neutralized. He lost 8.4 strokes gained putting at the Memorial last time around. That's very poor in 2021. Didn't play it in 2022. But 4.1 strokes gained off the tee there in that attempt. 9.5 strokes gained tee to green. You do that again, and you get a flat putter. he wins this golf tournament. So there's a lot of scenarios where I think that getting some positive leverage there with Justin Thomas makes all the sense in all the land. But let's do this. I go through the 10K, the 9K range. Let's go to the most negatively leveraged golfers and start there. And that's where Sahith Theegala, the Pepperdine grad, #1 college amateur coming out of school. He's very good at the old golf. There's no doubt about it. But at 8,400, everybody's clicking on him, and he's got 7 top 10s. He had a 5th here last season, just a ball striking clinic. That's kind of what he can do from time to time. Just an all around really, really solid player. And I don't know, 56th, 40th. Give me one of those outcomes at tons of ownership, and I'm happy to try to bypass it and take the entire field. And there's so many guys in this range to get positive leverage with it. I just don't see a purpose in trying to jam him with just a 6.1% optimal percentage. Again, optimal percentage, remember, not taking into account the number of times that they could still find themselves in the winning lineup. You know, having a 10th from Theegala, I would probably take a 10th from him and just jam him all in if I knew that was coming down the pipeline. But top 6 percentage, 10.7%. Optimal, meaning that, well, salary constraints involved with it, 8,400, just 6.1%. I think he's pretty easily a write-off for this week, purely because of ownership. I'd be more inclined to play Hatton. Obviously, we've talked about the Scheffler-Rahm thing. Surely that's going to go well for me. And then I'm playing Cantley. I think negative leverage be damned in that regard. But then Ricky Fowler getting quite a bit of ownership too. He continues to impress, continues to have a upward season. But now the field is just jamming him. And I think I'd rather go to the Hideki side of things for 200 more. Yes, there's negative leverage there as well, but I think it's a decent spot to be a buy. And Wyndham Clark at 8,200, I'd be very shocked if he ended up just 12%. I mean, this guy, he's become, I mean, I'm not going to call him Xander Schauffele in terms of the way people just jam him every single week. But in the context of golf, there aren't many guys that have been as hot as Wyndham Clark, who ends up going out and winning at the Wells Fargo. 8,200 continues to have a low price point that's sitting down there by Corey Connors and things of that nature. You just saw him miss a cut at a PGA. 2 weeks off there, and then took last week off at the Colonial. Coming into this week, he's had really good form, 5th at the Valspar, 6th at the Corrales. It's just one tournament for the PGA, and I can't say it about other golfers and not say it about him, but I will say I think he gets steamed up coming into tomorrow. You can watch Live Before Lock with Ben Raza, with Jeff Ulrich. They will cover everything for you Wednesday night, but that is one that I'm going to be a little bit trepidatious with. Yeah, we're expanding the vocabulary on today's show. Victor Hovland, happy with it. Adam Scott, totally fine. I hate Matt Kuchar. Everybody knows I'm not going to play him because he's old and whatever else. But Kevin Streelman, this is a wild, wild ride here. 5.5% actual negative leverage going down here. I still think Streelman's in play, which is kind of weird to say. He's coming off of a string of made cuts here. I did my prep, I promise. I swear to God. All right. Charles Schwab, T9, T18. Did have the miscut at the Mexico Open, but like these two results are very, very solid. And I think you might see some ownership come up on him. Might see some ownership come up on him at 6,700. I think that's one that I'm going to be keeping my eye on. You should as well. Because if he does end up 8-10%, I would be very upset with myself for clicking on him. But even at 5%, I would be all right embracing some of that. Yeah, Corey Connors, negative leverage, still minimal. Matt Fitzpatrick getting forgotten about in the 9K range. I think that's a little bit of an issue. I mean, we dude won at Harbor Town, but again, this golf course, a little bit interesting. And Emiliano Carrillo coming off a W for our guy, Ben Raza. His dude, 7,800 now, and still gaining that 10% ownership. I will say he ended up more popular last week than I was expecting. Ended up closing around double-digit ownership in most of the stuff I was playing. So we're going to be keeping our eye on that one as well. But look at that. Sam Bennett, welcome back to the program. People are clicking on him. What a time to be alive. Don't be one of those people. Positive leverage. Mother effer. I don't want to play Jordan Spieth, but you kind of have to when you're talking 8,900 at this golf course, right? I don't want to, but I'm going to. Missed the cut last week because, well, he just didn't play well. But 72-72, it's not like he played horrible. I mean, horrible for him. There were no others, just 8 bogeys, 4 birdies. Happens to everybody. It's golf. But you're coming off of a really good string of issues and whatever else. And obviously, where's his injury that they always talk about? His wrist injury didn't seem to be a problem, even though he didn't play that well. It is what it is. It's Jordan Spieth. He's 8,900. If you're going to be giving me him there, I probably have to take a little bit most positively leveraged golfer in the tool. But this is where we are going to get really, really freaking naughty. Billy Horschel, former winner at the Memorial. Billy Horschel, 7,500. Sorry, I just spiked your eardrums there. He is coming in with some positive leverage as well. That one's a little bit interesting. His form has been downright dog shit. Here we go. Billy, where you at, bro? Look at this. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Cut. Think he was part of like the new Gladiator too. These are bad jokes today. They're really, really bad. But Billy Horschel, that's going to be a tough ask for me. But Gary Woodland, yes. And oh, daddy, I'm going to have so much. Sepp Straka, 6,600. Just get your popcorn ready. I don't know what to tell you other than, has he been on this program every single time? As my dog walks in the room. Yeah, Sepp Straka, 6,600. I think he's one of the most undervalued players in this range every single week, coming off a 7th at the PGA, where I talked about jamming him. I jammed him, still made no money. Good times. Thanks, Scotty Scheffler. And then the Charles Schwab, 29th last week as well. He's just good with the irons when they show up. He can be negative just slightly, ever so slightly once in a while, but we're talking like the dude gains 4.2, 7.6, 5.6, 10.4 from time to time. And these kind of interesting tracks where you have to still bomb it. You can be a little bit of a bomber, a little bit of a sneaky bomber, that Sepp Straka. Oh, honey bear. He's not a bomber by any means, but off the tee, he's gained in 3 straight as well. Putter, gained back-to-back. Around the green, gained 3 straight. Let's go, Sepp Straka. I'm going to have tons of you, and it's going to be uncomfortable. And Justin Thomas, we talked about. Really good spot to be getting some investment there. But hey, we're almost to the 30-minute mark because all I do is talk. And, well, that just means we're going to have to build on my single entry lineup. But Muirfield Village kind of required a longer explanation. PGA, I feel like I shorted the people a little bit talking through some of the things. But looking at the top golfers tool, Cameron Young as well. Look at him. Just let's get the around the green game and putter in action. That would be cool, bro. Adam Schenk coming off of last week. Don't be one of those people. Just don't be. Different field, different situation, different life, different golf course, different everything. But Sepp Straka, he's going to be our daddy this week. JT Poston, however you want to say it. I love pasta. Love Poston. The Poston. Positive leverage. Oh no, I'm gonna get in a lot of trouble with some of these builds. 6,800 with Cantley as opposed to some of these studs. Watch it end up being the exact opposite, and chalk wins the day. But hey, that's why we're here. We're here to embrace some of the variance and get ourselves in the winning column. And again, it's not like nobody's going to click on Cantley when they see how well he's played this golf course. But to reiterate, just pay very, very close attention, my friends, to this for tomorrow as we go into live before lock. This ownership, if it comes down, yes, I will get myself to some Scotty Scheffler and John Rahm. But as it stands right now, this is a very tough ask compared to just going to Cantley for less negative ownership, having an opportunity to have some different builds with some of these 9K players. You can totally play chalk. I'm not saying you can't play chalk. It's just that you got to have lineups that make sense for the contests that you're playing. And if you're playing large field contests, you just don't want to be jamming some of those spots. Alrighty, y'all. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell as I talk through my single entry. And of course, it starts with Patrick Cantley. Course history, all of the damn things. I'm a sick person. I'm a glutton for punishment. Of course, I love Sam Burns this week, too. I'll be playing him in large field. Actually, I didn't even pull him up earlier. It's just kind of like assumed that I'm going to have some. He's going to, of course, have positive leverage. So screw me gently. I'm going to have so much of the boom bust Sam Burns, but will not be playing him in single entry because I'm not, a self-loathing hater. But talking about Wyndham Clark, I think that popularity comes up, and that's where I want to get to Corey Connors. This is somebody that, well, has just had really good form here of late. I've been on him pretty much all season long. We got, coming off of that miscut at the Players, the W at the Texas Open, he was my highest owned player that week. That was enjoyable. One of the more enjoyable weeks of PGA DFS and betting that I can remember, but and Rainmakers as well. But as I look at the board, Connors, he's somebody that you're going to be embracing a little bit of negative leverage, but especially getting that Justin Thomas play in and avoiding those top two. I think for single entry purposes, my lineup construction makes a ton of damn sense. 6,700. You have the Kevin Streelman play that exists. You could be going there, but I want to get Sepp Straka. I wanted to click on him. 6,600 remaining, 7,700. 7,700 per player remaining, 15,400 to utilize here. And this is where I'm going to give you my last player for single entry, and it is going to be Gary Woodland or Keegan Bradley. I'm not sure which one I want to be going to here as of yet. Talked quite a bit about KH Lee on today's video as well. I think for single entry, I'm happy to be kind of skipping out on him, but I'm definitely going to be embracing what I think his upside is in some of these events at tougher golf courses. Wells Fargo, look at that. T8, Masters T25, Valspar T20. Been playing some difficult tracks well. Muirfield, not the easiest track outdoors. Just throwing it there. It's Tiger Woods makes it look easy from time to time. Those days are gone. Those were good days. But anyway, KH Lee, I love him for this tournament. Not going to be playing him in single entry. I'm going to, for these purposes right now, for these streets, now I'm like sitting here flipping coins again in my head. Let's just commit, Eric. Commit. You're a married man. You can do that. Let's go Gary Woodland for the time being here. And that leaves you in an interesting range where I think Keith Mitchell makes a lot of sense. Probably not going to be clicking on the Kurt Kitayama or the Chris Kirk. A lot of things there. Benny On, kind of an interesting play as well. Maybe Cantley does fall into the conversation. Maybe. But as it stands right now, I do think Gary Woodland with that positive leverage makes a lot of sense. The miscut, again, stupid golf course, stupid golf tournament. Don't really care. Cool. That does it for me, my friends. A nice 30+ minute edition of the PGA DFS First Look. I just get in my feelings. I have fun. I love PGA DFS. I love PGA Tour Rainmakers. If you do too, get that free pack below. Hit that like button, subscribe button on your way out. And I will be back next week. We're inching closer to the US Open, where I will be going down to LA Country Club. It's going to be awesome. Going to be a very, very enjoyable little weekend. That's for sure. But yeah, I'm done talking. I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck this weekend in the PGA streets, my dear, dear friends.